All right, I'm gonna call the meeting to order at 6:30 p.m., June 24th, 2025. We'll begin with a roll call. We'll start with those attending remotely. Looks like they're not here yet, so we will end with that. All right, AJ Piskeric.
Present.
Alan Beeler.
Here.
Eric Belchef. Doesn't look. Yeah,
Not
and
yet.
Megan Winters not on yet. Okay.
There's Eric. Oh. That's
Eric, could you confirm your presence, please?
Yes, you might need to accept my.
All right, you should be good, Eric. Looks like Megan's here too.
Yeah, Eric not yet.
All right.
Yeah.
Megan, could you like audibly confirm your presence, please?
What's the
I don't know
fact
why
we
it's
can
not.
see our count?
Probably. I think we're good. Just gotta follow procedure.
I think you're still muted, Megan.
I'm sorry if you said something to me, it didn't connect.
Oh, thanks, Megan. Yeah, just taking roll call. Megan Winters.
Here.
Thank you.
And Eric, you should be able to talk now too. Can you confirm you're here?
Yeah, I think you gotta unmute yourself, Eric. All right, well. Eric, oh, there we go.
Right. I've been promoted to panelist.
Okay, everyone present and accounted for. So with that, I'll move on to agenda item number 3, approval of minutes from the meeting of May 27th, 2025. Any comments, changes to the minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Can I get a second? All right, thank you. The minutes are approved. All right, so we'll move on to agenda item number 4, public comment. Crafton residents, property owners, and business owners may comment, limited to 3 minutes per person per agenda item. And yeah, as always, keep things civil. So we'll start off with any of those folks who have signed up on the list. All right, so first up, we have Nicole Curvin. Sorry if I go after them. Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Cody.
Cody Sheets. Is that the mic on?
Oh, check. Is this on?
Yep.
All right. Cody Sheets. I'm here tonight on behalf of 135 residents who have signed this petition, calling for a more responsible and inclusive process before this zoning ordinance is recommended to Borough Council. These residents are requesting a few things: a comprehensive impact analysis study on numerous topics, a public workshop to explain the zoning ordinance in plain terms, a second public workshop to present the results of those impact studies, and a third public workshop to gather meaningful public feedback on both the ordinance and the study results. Again, we are not trying to stop this process, nor are we asking for the process to stop, only that it's slowed down again enough to ensure it's informed, transparent, and inclusive. This process so far has not been sufficient to residents. Now to the content of the proposed ordinance itself. The claim that Crafton's infrastructure can support increased density is fundamentally misleading. While our population may have declined since 1960, the number of cars per capita has tripled. More people now means more vehicles and more traffic on streets already struggling with congestion and limited parking. That's just not, it's not just inconvenient, it poses risk to public safety and emergency access. The ordinance's removal of square footage requirements for apartment units in some zones opens the door for units as small as 200 to 300 square feet. That may suit the needs of large developers maximizing profits, but it does not suit the needs of residents looking for livable, dignified housing. This move compromises the quality of life for our future neighbors. Meanwhile, the impact on the Carlington School District is uncertain at best. Increased population density does not guarantee increased tax revenue for schools, and it certainly could strain already tight resources without a thoughtful funding plan in place. We also see potential for increasing inequality across the borough. Some neighborhoods may see property values drop while others rise, further deepening divisions within our community. And finally, the ordinance favors large-scale developers who have the resources to navigate and exploit these changes, putting smaller local entrepreneurs and existing businesses at risk of being displaced or shut out of opportunity. To conclude, if the Planning Commission chooses to pass this ordinance tonight, it must do so with the full and overwhelming knowledge that the risks are real and the opposition is organized. 135 residents have signed a petition explicitly asking you not to move forward with this until impact studies are done, public workshops are held, and meaningful input is gathered. Crafton deserves thoughtful planning led by facts, not assumptions, and we are asking you to do the right thing. Thank you.
Thanks, Cody. I'll just ask because I'm not sure, Jim and Mike and Mandy, what's the appropriate way to handle Cody's petition there? Because I'm unsure of that.
I'm not sure either. Do you want to email us the results? That'll be a good start, and we can talk about it at a later date.
Okay, all right, thanks. Nicole, are you good to go now? Okay, thanks.
So we've come to a point where, Nicole Curvin, 184 South Grandview Avenue. We've come to a point where a lot has been done with the zoning draft, and I'm very appreciative of that. However, in the last few weeks, the one remaining item that has been a subject of conversation is a lack of impact studies. As you may know by now, there's a petition, but I know that impact studies are expensive. So as someone who plans and analyzes large-scale multi-system projects for a living, I felt the need to take at least an initial pass to look at potential impacts. And that, by the way, I have. You know, that's, well, I'll just. So. I know everybody here wants to feel like we're moving forward and accomplishing something, and I think we very much have. But I also want to take the time to do things right because the zoning code will impact the borough for many decades to come. Crafton is going to be here long after we're gone, and I don't want the legacy we leave to be that we rush to recommend something that has the potential to cause harm. Sometimes it's not obvious since we humans are not designed to create 100-year plans or foresee all the ways something can be abused. So I ran some analyses using an AI that has access to lots of best practice information. And I can unequivocally say after reading the results and compiling them in the report, which I've given you, that this code prioritizes developer profits over resident welfare. It's built on an assumption about infrastructure capacity that is flawed, and it lacks basic protections for residents. The problems it creates will not only be harmful, but very expensive to fix and difficult or impossible to fix after the fact. The code claims our infrastructure can handle growth, but that's misleading. As an example, our transportation infrastructure is already stressed. In the 60s, Crafton had 8,400 residents with about 2,100 cars. Today, we have 6,000 residents, but 4,500 cars, 3 times more cars per person. Our roads are operating at 214% of capacity, of the design capacity, despite having 28% fewer people. The proposed parking reductions will push this system possibly to failure. Our borough manager can eliminate parking requirements with no public insight or input or oversight, no clear criteria, and no appeal process. Even if we would not intend for it to happen, the way the code is currently written, it's feasible for some of us to wake up to a 50-unit apartment building approved next door with 0 parking spaces and no opportunity for public input. There are also threats to the provision of emergency services. The code's density increases without infrastructure improvements could push emergency response times from 6 to 8 minutes to 8 to 12 minutes, and those minutes make a difference. The code could create traffic issues. Studies show that when parking requirements are eliminated, 30% of traffic becomes people searching for parking spaces. I don't want residents to not be able to park near their homes. The code eliminates minimum apartment sizes in key districts.
That's 3 minutes.
It's not much longer. Is it all right if I just quickly finish?
Can you finish your sentence and then, sorry, we gotta be fair.
Before adopting this code, we need the things that are outlined in the report. And I would request that you delay this vote until these critical issues are addressed. We have one chance to get this right, and let's do that.
Thanks, Nicole. All right, next up I have Kari Roma.
Corey Rama, West Steuben Street. I'm here to talk about the proposal to put the zoning changes through Planning Commission into Borough Council. I personally signed the petition out of a sense of compromise. I think that it has the potential to quiet and quell some of the remaining concerns and allow us to take a more confident step forward. However, I will say that after reading through the zoning changes, consulting friends that I have that work in the industry, like whether it's affordable housing or just development in general in the city, and just my own general knowledge of how this stuff works, I'm personally comfortable with you sending this to Borough Council and moving it forward. Just keep my remarks short, but I just wanted to say that, and thank you for your time.
Thanks, Kari. All right, next up is Vincent. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your last name. Okay, thanks.
I get Vincent Rome, Vincent Roney, so anyway. I live in 9 Harrison Street. I don't have any comments prepared tonight, but I have an interesting perspective of not being able to attend these meetings throughout the academic year. So I can only attend from May until August. And what struck me was that I had asked at a meeting, what will this look like after you implement it? Which I come to realize was a very unsophisticated way of saying, have you done any preparation by way of an impact study? So I'm here to reiterate what both Nicole and Cody had mentioned about the importance of it. And from what I understand is that the neighboring boroughs, whenever they have done it, they have implemented impact studies as well too. So I don't understand why we are not being able to do that on the one hand. And it just seems like the same question has been asked 10 months ago. And then I was at last month's meeting, it was the same questioning. So it struck me as not counterproductive, because I know that there has been a lot of things that have happened, but it seems that the most important question that will quell people's fears, and I think I might speak for more than one person other than myself here, is that we are very afraid as to what Crafton is going to look like, because we just don't know how to read some of the language, and we don't know exactly what the zoning code actually means in layman's terms. So when we get impact studies, and I've scanned it, it seems very disquieting, to say the least, as to what we could potentially face as irrevocable changes to Crafton. And I think many of us are just very afraid of what would happen. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up we have Linda Wozniak.
I can pull my comments until after.
Sure, okay, thanks. Greg Wozniak.
Good evening. I just want to say before tonight's discussion begins that everybody here that wants to say something should probably say it before discussion, so that we get our opinions to the commission ahead of time. Anyway, while this draft has been developed for some time, it's still not ready for recommending to the council, and I strongly urge this commission to delay such an action until the final draft is formally presented to the public, as it was promised in April. In the April session, it was supposed to be an educational and run by a professional facilitator with ample time for Q&A, but that session was changed at the last minute for an open house type format. This decision was disappointing and eroded public trust. Most of all, it did not fully inform the citizens of Crafton as to the details of the draft, and no full petition Q&A was actually undertaken. This is only right. It is only right that before moving forward with this code, that this commission hosts a set of informal workshops that the public is completely aware of the context of the draft and the author's intent. Some hot topics like ADUs and lot widths were given ample time to resolve, but there are still subjects out there that have not fully been reviewed in a public format. Things like parking, ground-mounted solar panels, even the structure of the current draft with misplaced clauses, questionable definitions, approval procedures and other processes, circular references, borough engineer responsibilities, borough manager responsibilities. This gives pause that the document has been fully vetted by this commission for both political or legal content. Following this draft forwarding this draft to council without addressing these concerns could prove embarrassing for you all, and this actually would be irresponsible. So I do ask you to please slow down the process and make sure that you hear the public and that you do your due diligence on how this is going to impact us.
Thanks, Greg. Anyone on Zoom who would like to speak?
Steve, Steve, I'm gonna go ahead and let you talk here. Open it up. Steve, you should be able to speak.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, to echo what a lot of the other concerned citizens' comments have been tonight, I highly recommend that the Planning Commission does not forward this to council for recommendation. I have several of the same concerns that many have expressed here tonight. The one question that I had posed at the last open house is, if we are looking at a zoning ordinance that is going to prop up businesses and support businesses, why are we not focusing changes solely on mixed use and CTOD rather the entirety of the borough? That question has not been addressed yet. We do not need the changes that are being put forth in the rest of the borough. And I don't think we've given adequate attention to mixed use and CTOD, because we have several holes in this ordinance, such as parking, that are going to become a big issue if we move forward with this. You know, currently we have multi-story housing that would be allowed in both of those areas, that doesn't provide requirements for square footage minimums for individual residences, which I think is inhumane, for one. And for two, you know, combined with the way that the parking is written, that's a recipe for disaster, not only for the residents, but also for the businesses and everyone else who uses those areas. So I highly recommend that the Planning Commission slows the roll on this review, and let's look at this collectively and, you know, figure out where the holes are and figure out how we can develop a better draft for everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Next.
Yeah, thank you. Debbie,
Debbie.
I'm going to open it up for you to talk. You should be able to speak now, Debbie.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. Debbie Reagan, Duncan Avenue. I am also echoing what everyone has previously stated. And, you know, where some of our concerns are, I live near Maxwell. There's those open lots at the bottom of Maxwell. And many of the residents on Duncan and Maxwell have attended. And still, we're looking at from the old to the new. The old was 2.5 stories. Now, 300 feet, you know, for maximum height for a unit. We're at 3 stories, 45 feet, smaller and, you know, bigger. And minimum lot size. It was 500 square feet, now it's 4,000. Minimum side setbacks. It was 20 feet, now it's 10. I mean, you guys know the zoning. And so we're very concerned that it went smaller and higher. But also too, down on Maxwell, there are no sidewalks. The parking is very tight. There's a lot of residents there. One of the things with sidewalks, the ADA, Americans Disability Act, with any new construction, that triggers that ADA sidewalks have to be put in. A lot of Maxwell, there is no room to put sidewalks. You would have to take sidewalk space from the yards. The streets are not wide enough to support sidewalks. But if construction starts, who pays for those sidewalks? The borough. And also too, sidewalks really are not addressed in the zoning for the ADA standards. So I'm concerned with, if you want all this new construction, have you thought it through with the infrastructure, with the sidewalks, the parking? We are very concerned with what we're gonna end up with. So I do hope you guys just halt this and think it through and do the impact studies. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, anyone else in the room who would like to speak who didn't sign up yet? Yeah, go ahead. And you don't have to say your address out loud, but if you could just say at least your first name.
But sign in here with.
Yeah, there's a sign sheet out.
But not verbally.
Mhm.
Does everybody understand that for privacy purposes? That's right over there, so we can.
Oh, it's right here.
Yeah, we can get it for you. Thank you.
So my name is Michelle Weaver. I'm a resident lifelong. I agree with a lot of the statements the others have said, but my kind of two things that I'd like to just address is at one of the meetings I attended, someone said that we do not have a full list of all businesses that are currently in Crafton. And I know part of the zoning is to try to add more businesses. So if we don't have a full accurate list, how are we supposed to target new businesses to move in? Because we really don't want to oversaturate the market with duplicate type of businesses and also cause too much competition and like the current businesses go out of business then. So that's one thing I think should be addressed. And then another thing about the meetings and why I don't think it should be passed tonight is where I live, the part of Crafton, I have older neighbors that have been there all my life and they don't go on the internet. They don't know how to use their smartphones, so they don't go on like the website and know about meetings and things like that. And I know in the Crafton Courier, I know you put little blurbs that there's a zoning meeting, but there's not any real details saying like, oh, we want to rezone because we want to be able to build more apartments, or we want to rezone and change, the residential areas to more commercial areas. So I think there needs to be more of a transparency in the magazine or newspaper. So the older people that aren't on social media and things like that know what's going on and maybe have the dates published in advance so they can actually come to the meetings too and maybe talk amongst themselves. Because a few that I've spoken to don't even know any of this is actually taking place. So that's why I think it should be postponed, because older residents that have been lifelong residents and pay their taxes and own their homes might have a couple of issues with some of the things going on.
Thanks. Hey, just because I think it's pertinent, could you remind folks of the whole like public comment process? Like if this were, once this is recommended, at whatever point that happens, because it goes in the newspaper, right?
Yeah, it will be advertised in the newspaper to be approved. 60 days prior to approval, and then 7 days prior to approval or prior to the vote for approval. And there's also a public hearing as well.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that piece.
Yeah.
Thanks.
There is somebody else online too, if you want.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. Hey, Jan, we're gonna allow you to open it up for you to speak right now. Jan, you should be able to speak if you unmute yourself. I think you still need, I think you did unmute yourself for 1 second and then it popped right back up. I did that and I think that's what messed her up last time. I think she clicked it at the same time. Jen, are you able to unmute? I'm gonna remove permission for now, Janet, and then we'll come back to you. Do we want to let somebody else?
Yeah, thanks. Anyone else in the room like to speak? Yes, please.
Hi, Laura, Lincoln Avenue. I was one of the people who went around with the petition to get it signed. And it was my understanding that the change in the zoning was to help businesses in the area. Of me and another person who took the survey or the petition around, of the 10 businesses we stopped at, every business signed the petition to stop the zoning.
To stop the zoning or to have time to review it?
To have time to review it, I'm sorry. So I just wanted to let you guys know, everybody who's listening in on the meeting, that this is what it's supposed to be doing, but businesses are pushing back. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Crystal Beam. I live at 57 Belvedere. I'm proud to be on Belvedere Street. It's a beautiful street. Coming here tonight, I'd like to say that things are happening rather quickly, just like the petition. I personally did not have the opportunity to sign the petition because I've been extremely busy. This is a rough time for people. The kids are out of school. Parents are taking vacations. I'm in and out of town, and personally, I know AJ's tried to reach out to me. I think we really need to slow this down. And one of the first things I did when I came here and somebody handed me this was I opened the page and I saw a note that the zoning map by Mike Tedesco would reflect the most recent changes ready for public review by the end of next week. Certainly that was a warning sign for me. I do ditto everything that everybody else here said this evening. But I do think we have a problem with our businesses. Not even the fact that they signed the petitions. There are people that won't even go into our shopping center at night. I personally don't. I have told my kids not to. I have been down there. I've seen things that I don't want to see. I go down just to take pictures because I take pictures all over Crafton as a historian. I think we really need to work with the businesses, with the new business development group that was formed, and find out what their struggles are. You know, that we can turn our challenges into opportunities, but if we don't note those challenges, we can't correct them. I don't think adding more businesses when we have problematic areas, not saying specific businesses, is the answer. I think that the whole thing needs to be slowed down, and these impact studies are a must, even though I haven't had the chance to sign the petition. But I am here to back up anybody that is certainly in favor of slowing the process down and doing the right thing.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room?
Let me try Jan again.
Okay.
Jan, I'm going to lower your hand. If you are able and want to talk again, can you raise your hand again, and we'll try to unmute you again. Otherwise, I'll assume that you're not there. There we go. Okay, I will try again then. Thanks, Jan. Okay, you should be able to speak now, so if you would like to unmute yourself. I'm gonna click the Ask to Unmute button. It looked like it did it again. It clicked off there for a second and then clicked back on. I want to try one more time.
Billy, Matt, maybe you could type in the chat and we could just, I don't know if there is a chat. Is there like a Q&A that you see?
Question and answer.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, and then Jim can read it out if
Yep.
you're having trouble. Thanks.
No, she's just, her hand's not raised anymore.
While we're waiting, anyone else in the room? Yes, please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Carol Pano and I live at 24 Haldane Street. And I obviously came in late, but I think I'm going to echo what a lot of people probably said already. While I don't work in public management right now, I spent 5 years studying public management administration at Carnegie Mellon. I think not having impact studies specific to our borough and merely saying we're going to use Carnegie's or this borough's or Scott Townships or that borough's is a huge misstep and lack of preparation to move forward with things that are really important for our borough. So that's what I wanted to add this evening.
Thank you. Is there anything in the Q&A yet?
No.
Okay.
I think we I just moved it because
Yeah, please go ahead.
Hi, Terry Midgley. I know everybody has been at this a long time, and I know everybody wants to get this wrapped up. But isn't it better to do it right than do it hastily and figure out what the impact's going to be later? I only have one question. Everybody is asking for an impact study. Why not? No one is telling us why you won't do an impact study. And I think that would calm a lot of people's fears because people are asking for it. We're not getting it. So that raises suspicions as to what you don't want uncovered.
Thanks. I'll just clarify that it wasn't called a impact study, but there was a zoning diagnostic, which is essentially a same thing, done in the development of this. The FAQ that's included in the agenda packet speaks to that. So just wanted to make sure folks were aware of that. Any comments? Any other comments in the room? Yes, sorry, Greg, you already spoke, so. No, sorry, Greg. I just have to maintain the time limit, sorry.
Karen Tomchek, I just want to say, I'm agreeing with everybody here that it should be aware, make everybody aware, let the people in the borough know, have an open meeting and let everybody know what the changes are and why. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other comments in the room? Yeah, please go ahead, James.
It's James Megan, 96 Sterrett Street. To clarify Greg's point, the diagnostic was done on the old version, I think like the 2020. So just to clarify that. So while there was a diagnostic study, it was done on something that was kind of like older. And once again, as a member of the zoning steering committee, I would say there's a lot to still go over. So I would just pump the brakes.
Thanks. Any other comments in the room? Any comments on Zoom? Okay, in that case, I'll move on to agenda item 5, draft zoning code consideration. So as chair, I can only entertain motions. I cannot enact them. So yeah. So I'm relying, yeah, so it's kind of the rest of you guys here.
We don't need a motion to move on, right?
We don't need a motion to move on to the next agenda item. Right. Correct. But we would need, I cannot enact a motion, the one that's listed in agenda item number 5. I'm just, yeah.
Right. I can go ahead and motion to recommend adoption by Borough Council of the proposed amendments to Chapter 225 of the Borough Code of Ordinances titled the Crafton Borough Zoning Ordinance.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Can we have some discussion first?
Yeah, is there any discussion on the, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to make sure there was no discussion. AJ,
Sorry.
did you have anything? Anyone have anything before
Thanks,
we go
Eric.
to the vote? Yeah.
Yeah, I had a couple comments that I had wanted to make as as a relative newcomer coming into this, coming at, approaching my 1 year point. First of all, I appreciate all of the efforts that all of you have made along the way, starting with Thrive, and getting to this point. Appreciate that very much. I was also involved a long time ago, but not nearly the extent that Greg and James and others of you have been involved. I also and my comments are not to refute what you're saying tonight. My comments are just my perspective coming into this at the end of 9, 10, 11 months of the year. And I think that basically, I think that this borough has a dilemma. And that's what makes this so challenging. The dilemma is that we have shrinking population. Some of that shrinking population was by design to eliminate so many old wonderful homes having been moved to apartments and being to single family homes. So we pay a consequence for that. Second, there are societal things that impact us, which we have. They are the case. Crafton will never have parking to please everyone unless we build a vertical garage. But we really have dilemmas, and dilemmas are things, the definition of a dilemma is something that does not have an easy answer. It is a dilemma. There are pluses and minuses, there are trade-offs, there are things that are going to happen, and that's where I find us now in the borough. But I would just say that this borough does not have unlimited funds. This borough spent a significant amount more money in this past year than we planned to. This borough has to figure out how to drive the growth of businesses. And I feel like the majority of the recommendations, again, I'm not saying no to some of your comments, but I am agreeing with many of them. But we do have to reckon with how are we going to survive as a borough if we don't have more residents, which by the way, we have taken out most things that are going to drive what would be termed density. And having been through my last education session, there's a difference between density and intensity. And intensity is what we are dealing with more than density. And I would like to make that's what I was going to do at the next meeting, was go over some of this stuff, but we're dealing with intensity. Intensity means more cars in areas that weren't built for them. Intensity means more growth in certain areas. And so my feeling is, and we looked at this, we have made most of those moves, and correct me if I'm wrong, almost all of them, to be in the mixed use areas. I'm not saying that we don't have things perhaps learning tonight, because I'm always learning as I go through these things. And that's part of the beauty of this. We should all be learning more positively as we go through. But as we look at that, these are the dilemmas that we're facing and that we need to find a way to address. And I just want to go on the record as saying that. So whatever we do next and wherever we come out of this isn't going away, folks. We are lucky to be in a borough that is as wonderful as this is, with as many amenities, which has a council who has done so many positive things for us. We have more stuff. Why do you think that we are also protective of this? Because it is great. But we have to find a way, or we're not going to be able to, and this isn't a threat, and I haven't done the research, but I know based on things that I have read, we're lucky to still be independent. And we have to be very careful about making decisions both to preserve and to generate some revenue and income. So these are my premises in which I'm going into this tonight and have been in the months. We have to figure this out. There are societal changes. We need to be open to renters. And not everyone feels as if, I talk to people when I'm out and about and they say, I'm really upset that we can't have a townhouse because first of all, we live in a very expensive borough. Our taxes are high, and thank God for council and for council staff who have managed to keep the millage where it has been for so many years and still provide the kind of services that we have. They are to be applauded for that, and that doesn't get nearly enough recognition. So as I look at this, how are we going to do this? We have to do this together, but there's fear of change, And we have to be reasonable in what we're doing. And I want to just make that perfectly clear as we go through the borough. Those are the things that I feel like we have taken into great consideration from the point of view of all of you who have spoken. We've moved most of the things that we would have done impact studies on those on things like there are many people who are voting for who are in favor of Airbnbs. We've taken care of that. And believe me, I understand having friends who live next to the bad ones, that they're bad ones. I don't see anything in what we've done that is ripe for developers. I mean, we have a shopping center and we have areas that could be ripe for developers, but they're right now protected under parks, under natural resources, things that have been spoken about before. So I worry about reality, fear, hyperbole. These are all things that concern me as we go forward. And what I was starting to say was the person that I talked to said, I live next to a rundown building. It doesn't generate any tax revenue. I would love to see a townhouse with private ownership, with integral garage, so it's off-street parking here generating 25, 30, whatever the number is, $1,000 of tax revenue. So there are also other points of view. And really, reality, the last house that was built in Crafton was built 10 years ago. The last big development in housing was when? No, we have been as dense as we are for 50 years or more. We are that kind of neighborhood. Every street has rentals. Every street has private homes. Just about everyone. So the reality is we're facing the societal things of parking, but we're also facing the loss of revenue and so forth. I'm concerned about the ADA and the sidewalks. I appreciate hearing that. There are other things that I appreciate. But I just want to say, this is the crux of our dilemma. And we have to be open to multiple ways to address that. And whether or not we have it now, I don't know. But we have to be able to address that now. The second thing that I would say, and as we look at it, is when we think about things like impact studies, and I agree that will calm the nerves, but nobody talks about impact on what? You throw around impact studies, and yet more specificity would help us respond and narrow down to. So yes, you have that, but we didn't have it until tonight and in time to look for it. And I would really greatly have appreciated this and a chance to review it before our meeting so that we could have had a more rich and full discussion on it. That would have been my request. But I guess that's it. What I just
Hey, come on. Hey, guys.
no, this is not
No back and forth. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. I am just saying these are the considerations that when we go forward, however we go forward and however we vote, this is not the end of the process. There's more opportunity to come down the pipe. But I do really feel that we have to get more toward thinking about the big picture while thinking about what we need to do. And also, I just really feel like the divisiveness is unfounded. We have to really be open to work with each other. And we are all neighbors, and that's like my bottom line. I just want to make sure that this borough continues to thrive and we look at things as broadly as we can. For everything we took out a lot of revenue producing stuff, or revenue generation stuff. For everything that we left in, there are missed opportunities. Just recognize where we are so far. That's what I'm asking. And what my big concern is, how do we, which is the Planning Commission's purpose, is how do we protect the character of the borough while planning for the future? So those are my comments.
So I've been like pretty quiet in this meeting, and probably some others just feel like I owe it to the public to kind of share my perspective on this. So where I'm coming from, like my background is I started my career in urban planning, have a master's degree in urban planning. It's called urban, but it covers rural too. So I've attended I've been part of zoning code updates as a consultant, also, and now, as a planning commission member. And I think that the public input process throughout this has been, I know not to everyone's liking, but in my opinion, it's been solid. definitely there could have been improvements, but in comparison to what I've experienced, it's been good. We've really, I feel like we have really listened to a lot of the specific comments. I also looked into, zoning impact studies, because, that's being thrown around a lot, because in my experience, I haven't heard of an impact study of being completed for a zoning ordinance. And so I made sure, since I've been out of the planning field for a little bit, that I wasn't missing anything. And I couldn't find anything other than like AI generated results. I even like looked in Google Scholar and tried to find like an impact analysis of a zoning ordinance. So I think that the research that was done by the zoning, like in my opinion, the research that was done by the zoning consultant and the knowledge of our professional staff here and also just their knowledge that this borough is very built out, and so the potential impact is really negligible compared to what is currently in the zoning ordinance. I feel confident that these changes will only be positive. I don't think that there's going to be, just like, again, I understand there's like differences of opinions here, but like kind of based on my experience, I don't think there's going to be these huge swings, like huge population increases, huge infrastructure issues. I hear those concerns, and I just I don't think that's gonna happen. So I just want to make sure people know that like we have been listening to you guys, and I think it's just a difference of opinion here. And the other thing I wanted to point out too is like, yeah, I think there are some like typos and probably like weird clauses and stuff in the zoning ordinance. But like, so in software development, there's this term called minimum viable product, and it's just like you get what's going to work out there, and then the like really minor things that aren't going to have a major impact, you can like fix later if you need to. And that's kind of the way that I'm thinking about it. I think I'm at a point where I think it's being gone through enough to get to a point where our staff can then, if council, if this goes with council, there's going to be a public hearing process, after whenever planning commission, eventually decides to move forward on it. Then staff is going to be able to use it to start, reviewing developments against. And I think that since we started this planning process in, back in like 2022, I think that if we wait any longer, we're just going to have to do an entirely new comprehensive plan again. And I'm just not sure that's the best kind of use of resources. So yeah, I just wanted to share my opinions, and I just, one thing I've finally, I just want to say I've really been impressed though with like the engagement, and it's like, and how much people care about the borough and coming out to speak, and you are listened to, may not always agree, but definitely like weigh your opinions. That's it from me. Any other like discussion items from
On my part, just a couple of comments. I'm obviously the newest person here, and so while I've had now, this is the third meeting I've attended. Comments. First, I spent a fair time sitting with staff, just trying to get up to speed and understand the history on this project. It was helpful when they identified sort of the beginning of this effort back even to the visioning back in 2022. When this process got started in earnest with ZoneCo, again, I looked at the ZoneCo report, and first of all, I find that my finding is that ZoneCo was pretty darn experienced, and that wealth of experience really helped to get this thing off at a good start. And so what did they find? They found that we've got a 24-year-old, is that what it is? 24-year-old ordinance or code, or 21, whatever it is. It's way out of date. And so among other things, they suggested consolidating some of the sections, taking advantage of the fact that there's a busway that wasn't there before. In terms of recognizing potential development items, they also identified elements of in the current business area where the businesses that exist are out of compliance with the old ordinance. And so those kind of things potentially are really a problem if someone has to go rebuild and so on. in terms of the population change and the fear that there's a huge amount of new density, if you go, I don't know when the population started dropping, but it was either in 50 or in 60, and it's been consistent, unfortunately, all the way to today. And if I remember right, the most recent census shows that around 6,000, and I think it's now 5,800. So it continues to drop. So the fear that something huge is going to happen is really not there. It's more the question is, can you accommodate folks and encourage good behavior and so on, and celebrate the old historic houses that people were worried that were going to be somehow undermined. That's not the case in this ordinance or in this code. And so there's sort of misinformation floating around, which is really too bad. In terms of responsiveness, again, I have to look mostly at the record, and there's been a huge amount of public information back and forth. And even in my short period of time involved in the commission, things were asked for, final publishing of the ordinance with a map, and that got, the map actually got published as part of the final update, and that was made available as promised. So I'm pretty comfortable with finding that it has been a responsive process. And oh, by the way, it's not done as Eric described at the last meeting in great detail, and others have mentioned. There are still multiple steps to go back to council. So there's times when folks comment, and there'll be a public hearing and so on. So I'm fully comfortable with supporting the vote to push or to recommend that this code be adopted and sent on to council for approval.
Megan or Eric, do you have anything?
I do. I just wanted to say something. So I've been on the planning commission since May 2024, and in that meeting, I was coming in under the impression that we were pretty close to passing the code then, and at that point, I at that point was uncomfortable with where we were at in passing it. But I feel like it's important to name that we've come close to this vote for over a year now. But at that first meeting in May, when I felt like we were, gearing up to being, passing this, I felt like I slowed it down then, right? So that was when we made sure all of our minutes were posted online. That was when I made the request for staff to create a chart that had all of the changes to the zoning code, the old zoning code and the update of what the new zoning code looks like. And that's just something I want to say again as something that is really helpful for residents to look at, because when I come into this with a background in state government and mainly state government, and I want the code is not written in a way that is easy to understand. And I think that is in part why there's a lot of fear around it, because it's difficult to understand. And sometimes when we are communicating about it, if you're coming from a place of fear, it breeds more fear. And so I want to say that I would really recommend people look at that chart, and that it's important to me that people, easily understand the code. And I also want to echo Rhiannon that I hear the requests for impact studies. I also had not been familiar with impact studies done on zoning codes before. So I also looked into it and I couldn't find anything. And so I just, like many of you, turned to AI, turned to ChatGPT, and I simply uploaded the zoning code and asked it to provide me an impact analysis. And I want to read just the executive summary. The impact study, all I did was upload the code, say, I would like you to prepare me an impact study. The executive summary reads, Crafton Borough's proposed zoning code revision modernize the borough's land use regulations, aligning them with the community goals of the Crafton Ingram Thrive Comprehensive Plan. The new code is designed to support mixed-use development, transit-oriented growth, environmental stewardship, housing diversity, and economic vitality. And I just want to, I want to name that because it's, I think that there's a lot of fear around what the code can do. And I also want to reference the document that staff put together on the properties that exist in the borough that are even able to be redeveloped, because it's a very small number. It's a very small number of places. And that isn't to say that I don't hear the concerns of residents of, you know, where those small places are and what could happen. But there is a lot, any development that would take place, most of it would require them to come in front of us or come in front of council to make their pitches of what would happen. And so, you know, I guess just to sort of finally to say that, you know, what makes our community is not our zoning code, it's the people who live within it. And I really love Crafton. I love my neighbors. I feel like I get to walk around Mr. Rogers' neighborhood every single time I'm walking around the borough. And I'm so grateful for people who are here in the audience or people who are on the planning commission who volunteer their time for so many community events and volunteer to be on the planning commission. And I just, you know, want to name that as something that really is the undercurrent of this. It is not the zoning code that makes our community. It is people. So that's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Meg. I'll just add a comment. I really agree with what's been said. I think the really important undertone of all of this is that Planning Commission has been tasked to review and really align to thrive. And I think that what we've done is been able to model, you know, a great semifinal version that we can recommend to council to put into its final state for the county to review and then go into its public review process. This is something that I don't think that anybody can say anything is perfect, but I think that this is something that acknowledges and has heard of the public time and again. We've really and you may not agree, but we've really for several years tried to incorporate your feedback, and going forward, you know, even when whether this should be moved forward, Planning Commission will continue in preparation for the public review period and, you know, the council review. We will continue to take on our role in planning to help educate of those components, to educate the public of those components, and to help bring back some concerns if they are still out there. So we're not saying that we're not involved. We're saying that what I'm motioning tonight specifically is that this is ready to move to the state for our council to get it ready to present to the county for its approval, and then bring it back home so the public can see it in its final state as an approved living document.
Yeah, go ahead.
Call the question?
Yeah, yeah, so you already have a motion and a second on the table. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, the motion passes. All members in favor.
Sorry?
I said the motion passes.
Yes, okay, sure.
Okay. Okay, so we'll move on to agenda item number 6, general public comment. I know we already have Linda, so you can go ahead and then we'll just kind of move through. If you're ready. Yeah, okay. All right, anyone else ready to go? Yeah, go ahead, Cody.
Do I need to sign this if I've already signed one? Okay.
I think you're fine.
Cody Sheets. So just as far as the executive summary that Megan just read, so this zoning code analysis was emailed and provided to all of you today. And in the same way that Megan generated it, this was generated through AI, a much more comprehensive AI than ChatGPT. And the executive summary overview is the draft Crafton zoning code presents significant risks to residents, public safety, and community stability that far outweigh its potential benefits.
While aimed at modernizing land use regulations, the code contains critical gaps and flawed assumptions that could create lasting harm to the community. So even though this is passed, you've asked for an email of my petition, which is really now null and void, right? Because it's already passed, it doesn't matter. And so your claim to be open to all of that is just contradictory, frankly. You know, why would I present a petition prior to the vote that's in that's why would I present that before, except at the meeting? That's the whole point of the petition, is to say, hey, 135 people told you, now 134 don't want you to do this. Every person who stood up in this room except one told you they didn't want this. So you did this knowing that the people didn't want it. You did it knowing that we created a comprehensive impact study analysis and supplied it to you, and that it had concerns in it that were incredibly valid. And so, you know, we'll move on to council with this, but I'm disappointed. I think that you guys have done great work. I think that the intentions are there. I agree, we are all neighbors. But I'm incredibly disappointed to hear the rationale and justifications that are just plainly, again, contradictory. They're just contradictory. Thanks.
Thanks, Cody. Yeah. Oh, Linda, go ahead. Oh, okay, sure. James, then, sure.
James Bennett, I would just say I kind of resent the fact that the idea of like lying has only come from these people, or that you are like, that we're kind of being written off as like we're afraid of a certain thing, or that we're just too dull to understand a legal document that we can't weigh in on. I know that you're saying I'm going to mischaracterize that, but really that's kind of what was said, is that you guys don't get it, or you've like lies have been spread. The idea that's just on us, or that we don't get it, or we're afraid of change or afraid of density. That's a gross mischaracterization of what a lot of us kind of are all about. And the idea that we're a happy neighborhood is fantastic, but a governing body is kind of belittling us.
Thanks. Yeah. They raised their hand first. Just
Yes.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah, please go
Carla,
ahead.
I'm gonna open you up to speak here. You should be able to unmute yourself, Carla.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. Thank you. I am completely disheartened by all this. I'm actually away right now, spending time with my family on a vacation, but yet this is how much I love this town, and I'm still here this evening. It's been said tonight that you are listening to us, but are you really listening? As council, it's your duty to serve the community, not an agenda or a map or a zone code. Tonight, there was talk of intensity and density, and we're going again round and round with verbiage. Call it what you will. We can have no intensity or density without a thorough, thought-out plan. I asked council a year ago, what's your plan? The answer that I was given was, we have no plan. This zoning needs infrastructure planned out and implemented before moving forward. You will not achieve what you are selling us until you address the infrastructure at hand. We have issues here in Crafton, and you are choosing to ignore them. And as well, you're ignoring us. I implore you to truly listen, because I don't think it's me. You're listening to us at all.
Thanks. Just put clarification, we're planning commission, not council, but this will go before council.
I've asked both council and commission. I get the same answer. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Linda, sorry, I can't see you because the podium is hiding you, so I want to make sure. Thanks.
Linda Wozniak, 1773 Bar. I'd like to echo what Carla just mentioned. We are an enormous group of individuals that have been present at these meetings with the assurance that people are going to listen. I only see people with, most people with the same vision that we have brought to you and same concerns, and yet we go away and the same stuff happens, or we move things on without considering what people have asked for. I also object to the verbal spanking that we get. We just heard from all of you that we're fear mongers. I think we're interested in facts, and that fear we don't understand is really annoying and disheartening. I think it's very unprofessional as well. And the disregard for the citizens that are sitting in this room is just becoming more and more evident. How many people will it take for somebody to listen? If we need to pack the room twice over, we can do that, but you have to listen. So, and thank you. I appreciate that if you're listening.
Thanks, Linda. Any other comments? Yeah, please go ahead.
Carol Panhead, 24 Haldane, not to beat a dead horse, but again, like I was for Delinda during all of this comment, that I didn't feel like your comments were comments so much as lectures to all of us. You know, you are there to serve the public and serve the community, not serve whatever the administrator's agenda is or the commission's agenda is, but to really hear what we're saying. And I think you have a room full of very unhappy citizens. While we all might like each other as neighbors, and we do have a great community, and as neighbors, we're all wonderful, when it comes to these political things and moving things forward or not, you're not listening to us. And that's why we're upset. So thank you.
Thanks. Any other comment either in the room? Yeah, Nicole, go ahead.
I just want to clarify, I haven't heard a single person say they want the zoning update to go away. I haven't heard anyone today say they're against rentals. None of the things I heard in your comments address the concerns in the report that I provided, which has very real concerns in it. Historically, zoning practices have been used to reinforce residential segregation based on race and income. Zoning codes have health impacts. They have safety impacts. What I just witnessed is an incredible minimization of people's concerns. An entire room full of people unanimously saying they didn't want this to happen, and yet you did it anyway. Sometimes fear is a correct emotion, though in my case, it's more concern for doing things right. And if you want to avoid divisiveness, then you should listen to what people are saying and honor their concerns. What I just saw today is not only ignoring everyone in this room, but in my opinion, it certainly sows mistrust. And by the way, it took me all of 5 minutes to find recommendations on government websites, no less like HUD, that say assessing impact is critical. And even if you've never heard of doing an impact study, even though it's best practice, why not just be willing to admit that any plan, no matter how much time we've spent on it, no matter how good we may think it is, can have unforeseen impacts? There is nothing wrong with admitting that. I am disgusted by what I saw today.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, Stephanie. Yeah, sorry. We'll get to everyone, don't worry.
Stephanie Mangan, 96 Sterrett. I brought this up. So what's done is done. But I want to commend, and I know this is not you, but yesterday there was a trail study meeting yesterday, and I thought that was lovely. And I think, we really need to focus on what is it that's going to make Crafton the attractive kind of place. So we talk about density and population growth. My grandma lived here years ago. She was one of 7. I think 5 kids used to live in our house. These things do happen. But what is it about Crafton that is going to make quality that is going to attract people. And I think those trails, beautifying our trails, connecting that, I told my husband I'd love to bring our run club to a trail here. We meet at maybe Fig Tree, we go for a run, we make Crafton attractive in those kinds of ways rather than just a quantity issue. And also I do beg people as an English teacher to not rely on AI, ChatGPT. Let me tell you the issues. So it has its place. It can be useful, but the issues and errors I have seen, AI is, let's not make decisions or make choices or rely on that kind of information, just kind of general comments. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you. I saw two people's hands up, Greg and another person.
Hi, Chris McCormick. So I moved here a year ago and I did a lot of reading in the current zoning code, the draft zoning code. I want to say thank you to the commission and the staff because I know you do a lot to do this. I know the commission, you're not paid for your work here. So I know it's a lot of time out of your lives to be here to do all of this. And there was a lot of stuff in the draft that I was looking forward to as it stood a year ago. That's all been stripped out because you've listened to the community and you took out things that I was looking forward to. I moved here from an area that doesn't want to build new housing. It's like Crafton. They like their neighborhoods the way they are. They don't want them to change. But what people understand is that means that the people that live here maybe get to stay. But what happens when they go? Who gets to replace them? What kind of people are moving in? Where are they moving to? I mean, I displaced a family of 4 when I moved here. I think some of them still live here, but that's, 4 people in the house that I lived in that live somewhere else now. And I don't plan on having more people in the house where I am, so I'm helping depopulate Crafton. One of my concerns are my property taxes, right? I moved here with the expectation that hopefully property taxes stay around the same that they are. And with the draft code as it was, I was looking forward to having more businesses, maybe more housing to maybe lower my taxes or keep them the same. And I know that Jim is, doing a lot to try to keep the budget in balance and everything. And with no people moving in, with businesses not moving in, businesses need people. If people aren't moving in, businesses probably won't move in. What's going to happen to our tax base? What's going to happen to our millage? How is that going to affect our property taxes? What's going to happen if our school taxes go up? What happens if, for whatever reason, Crafton does become a desirable area to live? Our property values shoot through the roof because everyone wants to live here, but we're not offsetting that with more people or businesses. And then the county does a reassessment and our taxes go up because the county did a reassessment. Our property area values are now higher than surrounding areas. That affects everyone here. I don't know. I guess I'm frustrated with the process, not because I don't think you are doing a good job, but because everyone's saying you're not listening, you're not valuing their input, you're treating them disrespectfully. And I've been to a lot of these meetings and what's frustrating to me is, I don't know, you're doing what you're saying you're doing, and people are making comments and you are listening to them and you're getting flack for it because I guess people don't like that something has to happen. These changes have to happen. As they are, I don't think the changes are going to do much to affect Crafton as it is. I think it'll mostly stay the same, which is disappointing to me, probably not to a lot of people. And I know there are still more steps in the process. This isn't the final step. You're still going to go to council. You still have to go get county approval. You still have all these steps in place for people to continue making comments, to continue providing their input. And
That's 3 minutes.
okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Greg.
Hi, I just wanted to say I pretty much knew the way this was going to go when I heard Jim's comments earlier on. He kind of alluded to the fact that it was already decided that you all were going to vote for it. So everybody that came up and gave their comments was, just kind of a waste of air from them. It was quite obvious that you've already all made up your minds. And I just pegged off something that Jim said early in the meeting. Also, Ellen, you had talked many times about talking with the administrators and stuff like that, how much research you did with them. It would have been nice if you would have been out talking to some of the early people in the planning of this, and maybe some of the residents. I just wanted to mention that, you talked with the people that had one side of the story. There is another side of the story. And then also, there was the word used that divisiveness, calling us divisive is, I think that's a slam. And I don't think that was really called for, to call the public divisive. Well, you said it, sorry. There's a lot of apologies that go on. So anyway, I just want to say that you guys got to really start thinking about the public. Start thinking about what the public wants. What's the need for a rush when it's just a rush to show that you're on that side of the table and we're on this side of the table. So, Jim, thank you very much for your early comment, for giving me an idea of what was going to happen.
Thanks, Greg. All right, any other comments? Yep.
Hey folks, Justin Marks, Oregon Avenue. No, I don't think I had a worry about it getting passed or not passed tonight. To be honest, I appreciate the work everyone up here is doing. I appreciate you all sticking around. I know, having been on the other side of this on council, you were not going to make everybody happy. And you have to kind of make a judgment call. And I think that's what the 5 of you did tonight. And we'll see what happens further up at council.
Thanks. Any other?
Yeah, I just want to make a clarification on Greg's comment. As part of my education of the process, I absolutely went back and looked at the records of the public comments of the various meetings, including your comments as a member of the committee that was filed back in, I think it was May of last year or whatever it was. Just be aware that I was not listening only to the staff. I was reading the public comments as well, because I care a lot about the public comments.
All right, any other comments in the room? Yeah, please go ahead.
First off, I just want to say thank you to everyone. Being a volunteer in the community for 7 years now, I know how hard it is to, to sit and think through the agendas and the process and coming to a conclusion as you did tonight. A plan is just a plan. From that, changes can occur. However, I think we have a lot of problems with our current infrastructure, including our businesses, rundown residences that aren't being addressed. I think we have a lot of fundamental things that we need to fix in this community before we march forward. And I think if I were a capital investor and I wanted to come into this community and start a business, which I have inquired, I looked at the building on East Crafton Avenue, which has parking. I came to the conclusion that this isn't a place where I would want to open a business as much as I love this town. I think there's a lot of things that we need to fix, and I appreciate the plan. I hope that the plan can be massaged and improved as you move forward, because certainly as capital investors start looking at Crafton the way we are, they're going to need to see what the fruits of their investments might lead to in the future. So with that said, I think we have a lot of things that we need to fix before a capital investor will find anything here attractive. I mean, I love the old homes. I haven't really gotten into the businesses from a historic standpoint, but I think we need to address some of the issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, either, in the room or on Zoom? All right.
When we're done, I'd like to make a few more comments.
Yeah, okay, final comments from, it doesn't look like anyone else has public comments, so yeah, we can do a final comment then.
Yeah, first of all, I do apologize, and it is sincere about divisive. I'm not calling you divisive, but I am feeling, I feel that in this borough. One of the things that one of my renters, I'm referring to previous meetings, I've been here all these months, there were many comments about renters. So please know that I'm listening wholly, not just tonight. But one of my main things that I wanted to share is that we have to, first of all, a code is not a plan. And I think that that's really important. A code is designed to allow allowances and non-allowances for future growth. And so that I think is just important to know. It doesn't mean this is going to happen. It is what will. I know that I don't mean to be parsing words, but I do think it is important to just recognize that. And I've lived through it personally as a resident, experiences of wanting to do something that's different than the code, and many of you all here, and we do a very good job in terms of listening to the public, those of you who are on the zoning board and so forth. You know that that happens. I've never intended to have anybody feel like the code was that you weren't smart enough. I wasn't smart enough. I sat down with Jim and Greg multiple times to say, tell me about this. It is a legal document. You've heard me say that over and over again, and our goal is to make it easier to understand. That was one of the objectives, and it's still legalese. But you know, the bottom line is that I don't feel like along with what Megan said, I don't feel like we're not listening. And we passed, as I said at the last meeting, 18 changes based on your input. We have listened a lot. And so I just feel confident that let me change that word. I feel like we are at a point where it is appropriate to pass this on. And it doesn't mean we're not listening, because I know there'll be other opportunities. But mostly I just want to apologize. And I do want to thank all of you for your comments, for us, for being here. I started my comments with that, and they're very genuine and very sincere. So the only other thing I would say is that in response to business development, we have a directory. We are vetting it. We know who the businesses are. We are personally calling people. Greg, you're part of that. I've completed 10, 11, 12 calls with businesses to vet their information. Each of us on the business development committee is doing that. I've heard no concerns from those businesses about this, but thankfulness for what we are doing for businesses, and the businesses that I've talked to who are here, for the most part, love being here. And so we want that to continue. And then my last is, there's a lot of old people who don't access those things, and we will continue to do that. But as neighbors, help them, help explain to them, put them in touch with Jim or Mike or any of us. Because we have promoted this as many ways as we can, but technology will leave them behind. So I'm happy to talk to anybody and get answers for anybody who you might refer to me. So with that.
Thanks, AJ. All right. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Sure. Motion.
Okay, yeah, all those in favor? Aye. Sure. Okay, meeting adjourned at 7:53 PM.